Breakroom. In this episode, Zach Huddleston and I, Eric Voss, are going to be going through basically the staff here at New Rockstars picking our top 10 best movies of the century so far. This is from the New York Times. They released their ballot for people to pick their top 10 movies from the past 25 years, all the way back to the year 2000, up until now, 2025. Everything that has come out, every film, not just American films, but internationally. And the New York Times compiled that into all the ballots together into the 100 best movies of the century so far. And you may have seen this going around, people presenting their ballots, and we thought we would share with you each of our ballots, people that you see on screen and people who you don't see, but maybe whose names you hear in the credits of our videos. And we want to hear from you, what you think your top 10 picks are, and we're just going to kind of like talk about this process. Yes, I'm Eric. I'm here with Zach. Hello, Zach.
Hey, good to be here with you, Eric. We've been, as soon as this feature popped up, and much like a Spotify year-end list, right? There are things like this that like go kind of mini viral. I'm trying to think of like other recent kind of trendy examples where like everybody wants to share their version of the thing. But like this is particularly interesting because like 2025, we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century.
Yes.
And I think the New York Times used that as an opportunity. There's another, I know The Ringer is doing a 25 for 25 series. Maybe other podcasts or shows are using this as an opportunity to like look back. And it's kind of an arbitrary distinction, like from the year 2020 to now. And it's also like, most likely if you're watching, that is a big chunk of your life.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Half or more of your life. Probably, I don't know how many 60-year-olds or older, I might be the only one watching the Breakroom on a regular basis. But, and so like, it is almost mind-boggling how all-encompassing that time period can be for filmdom. Obviously, we can all name older movies, but like, it's wild to look at some of these lists and be like, that movie too?
Yeah, it's weird to think, like, especially around the year 2000, 2001, I sometimes think of those movies as 90s movies. It's weird. Also, some of the directors who we know from that era, from 2000 to 2025, their best works might have been done before that. Like, it's weird to think of, like, Scorsese as a filmmaker who we have to judge just his work 2000 onward when like this is a guy who made Goodfellas and Taxi Driver, or Quentin Tarantino, like to think of his movies from 2000 onward when really it's a guy who made Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, which I think are better movies than the movies he made after.
I mean Spike Lee, Spielberg, the number of directors who's like who are still working today but whose best work might precede this list is interesting. And then like just the broad spectrum. I mean, seeing people's lists, the Studio Ghibli films, all the great Pixar work, you know, like there's the like Oscar winners that might immediately come to mind, but even like the crowd pleasers, the entirety of the MCU falls in this range.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And will anything from the MCU make our lists? Is the question. I think we do see some MC representation on our lists. So how should we start, Zach? Should we go into like what the New York Times said were the top 25 or whatever? Or
That's a nice place to start. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna
a gajillion people filled out these ballots and like shared them on their social medias, and the New York Times compiled all that information to come up with their list. Now, you know, the real heads know the Cahiers du Cinema puts out a or is it the Cahiers du Cinema or is it Sight and Sound, right? Like there are all kinds of publications that have like, or the AFI Top 100, right? Like they're always like re-releasing their list of top 100s. I've never heard of a since 2000 list until now, which is a new kind of parameter.
I've definitely seen like best movies of this century, either through our friends at The Ringer or some of these other ones. But a lot of people consider that almost, as you said, it's arbitrary because there have been arguments that because of the CGI revolution that really started with Jurassic Park and then really blew up with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films, that cinema as an art form has just not been as good after 2000 to the present era. I have disagreements with that, but you can see different attempts at the art form, just like bigger swings that were made before the CGI revolution, some film snobs would say. Yes. And maybe that's why people who curate these lists are like, well, let's not start at 2000 because, like, is that fair? Because, like, just CGI in the way that changed the industry has really warped the art form.
It's also interesting in our last show when Hector Navarro was here, we were talking just a little bit about, like, what you personally bring into making your own list. Like, it can be like, what are the 10 movies you would want to rewatch tonight?
Yeah.
It can be, what are the movies that had the biggest impact on you, that you have the fondest remembrances of, that when you saw it, you loved? Or is it like, you're making this list June 30th, 2025.
Right.
And like, how do you feel June 30th, 2025? Right.
And are you curating this list for your own like personal vanity, right? Knowing that it's going to be shared with other people, whether it's just your friends or your Twitter following or whatever it is, because then you're going to be judged by what you include and what you don't include on this list.
We all know a lot of you would have Rise of Gru on your top 10 if you thought nobody would judge you, right?
I think everyone would have Top Gun Maverick on their list. Like everyone would if it was just like how much
there'd be a lot more popcorn. Well, at least one new Rockstars staffer was unafraid of judgment, and we'll get to that with some of her, their people-pleasing choices. But okay, great. So I think please be putting in the chat or the comments what your top 10 is, and as we go and we reveal more lists, we talk about the official list, what you think are the your biggest surprises, maybe your biggest disagreements.
Yeah.
And there's going to be so many omissions. Again, you could easily make a top 25 for each individual year in the last 25
definitely.
years.
You could definitely do that
So
for 2007.
We joked. I made a top 10. I then changed it by removing half of them and replacing half of them. I could keep doing that 50 times and still not know if I had made my actual top 10.
Yeah.
You know, it's a hard thing to do. Okay.
All right, so I'm just gonna scroll through. There are the top 100 of that is all the combined of the people who submitted ballots. I'm just gonna read the top 30 real fast. At number 30, Lost in Translation, directed by Sofia Coppola. At number 29, Arrival, directed by Denis Villeneuve. At number 28, The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan. At number 27, Adaptation, directed by Spike Jonze. Number 26, Anatomy of a Fall, directed by Justine Triet. Number 25, Phantom Thread, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. I know, Paul Thomas Anderson, and the Buggy Nights, right? Number 24, Her, directed by Spike Jonze. Spike Jonze made 2. Look at you. Number 23, Boyhood, directed by Richard Linklater. Number 22, The Grand Budapest Hotel, directed by Wes Anderson. Number 21, The Royal Tenenbaums, directed by Wes Anderson.
Back to back, Wes Anderson.
Number 20, The Wolf of Wall Street, directed by Martin Scorsese. Number 19, Zodiac, directed by David Fincher. Number 18, Y Tu Mama Tambien, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Number 17, Brokeback Mountain, directed by Ang Lee. Number 16, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, directed by Ang Lee.
Back to back, Ang Lee.
Yeah, a lot of clumping here. Number 15, City of God, directed by Fernando Meirelles.
Can we pause there? That might be a movie. I wonder if that's the movie that the most people watching have not seen in our top 30.
Yeah.
And it is a great movie. You should go see that. Maybe that, Y Tu Mama Tambien, foreign language films. But anyways, put a pin in those. We'll come back to them.
So good. Number 14, Inglourious Bastards, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Number 13, Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. I know, that was like, I forgot about it. Yeah. Number 12, The Zone of Interest, directed by Jonathan Glazer. Fascinating. I think this is like the most recent, highest ranked, like at least in the past 5 years.
I mean, well, so Sandra Mueller, I believe is the actress's name, who's in both Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall, and who's going to be in the Ryan Gosling Project Hail Mary film. Both those movies came out the same year. Those are two 2023 movies that both made the top 30. Recency bias. Okay.
I don't know. I think The Zone of Interest is a masterpiece.
It is really good. And I'm less surprised about it. Anatomy of a Fall is a solid movie. It should not be in the top 30 movies the last 25 years. That's my
we can quibble over that. I do think Zone of Interest is a much better movie than Anatomy of a Fall, but Anatomy of a Fall,
Agreed.
Also excellent film. Number 11, Mad Max Fury Road, directed by George Miller. Number 10, The Social Network, directed by David Fincher. Number 9, Spirited Away, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Number 8, Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele. Number 7, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, directed by Michel Gondry. Number 6, No Country for Old Men, directed by the Coen brothers. Number 5, Moonlight, directed by Barry Jenkins. Number 4, In the Mood for Love, directed by Wong Kar-wai from 2001. Number 3, There Will Be Blood, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Number 2, Mulholland Drive, directed by David Lynch. And number 1, Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho.
Now, we've got a couple Best Picture, Moonlight, Parasite, and a lot of those other films were nominated for Best Picture.
No Country for Old Men.
Widely, critically acclaimed films. Though, In the Mood for Love
Yeah.
Again, foreign language film.
Number 3.
That's pretty wild. A great movie, of course. But like, I think it speaks to some of the demographics here.
Yes.
Also, what like sticks with people and what maybe people put in their mind as like, this is a great movie. Because like, I guarantee 10 times the number of humans have seen Avengers Endgame than have seen In the Mood for Love. Now, maybe everybody that watched In the Mood for Love was like, this is my favorite movie ever, whereas not everybody who watched Avengers Endgame thought that. But like, wild that and again, that's also not that recent a movie. That's early in our window here. Featuring the Mandarin himself, Tony Leung. Very cool. Okay.
So should we get to our individual ballots and see how we stacked up? And our individual ballots for, I think most of us came before these final tabulations were in there. So our ballots contributed to these final tabulations. I'm not sure, again, what graphics. We just have like, should we start with yours, Zach?
Sure.
I don't know if we have an individual or
happy
not.
to. Okay. There's my Slack profile.
What were you
pic.
drinking in this?
That is a beer. That photo was taken in Alaska, actually.
Wow.
You know, nearby me, there's a killer whale somewhere splashing in those.
And this was like 11 o'clock at night in the summertime?
That's right, yeah. In fact, that's the face I made when I watched 2017's Good Time. So an eclectic mix. But I'll just draw attention to a couple of things here. I got both Dune movies on there, and you know those Dark Knight and Avengers Endgame are kind of my big tent pole crowd pleaser picks. But then I have you know some darker tastes. Good Time is a Safdie brothers movie. That is, if you like Uncut Gems, it's like that, but similarly high wire and stressful. The Master from Paul Thomas Anderson, which I was surprised didn't make the top 30. The Green Room, which is by the same director of Rebel Ridge.
Yeah.
Jeremy Saulnier, who I love. It's just like a gritty, nasty little movie.
Patrick Stewart plays an incredible role in that movie.
No Country. I mean, and then two of my more oddball picks, The King of Kong.
Yes.
Now, this is my second draft. I originally put out a version that had 5 documentaries in it. I love documentaries. I realized I was probably over-indexing there. But The King of Kong is not only maybe my favorite documentary of all time, but like one of my favorite movies. And then Jackass, baby. Now, I enjoy all the Jackass films.
great.
Jackass 1, to me, the reason I picked that movie is, of all the experiences I've had in movie theaters, one of my most memorable is watching the first Jackass movie.
Yeah, that's
Packed
great.
theater,
Yeah.
just dying of laughter. So like, that is kind of what informed me. Like, in fact, all of these movies I saw in a movie theater, and all of them I remember having like an almost spiritual or like powerful experience in a movie theater. And I'm probably over-indexing towards that, but yeah, there's my top 10.
I think it's a good pick. I think you clearly respect the year of 2007. You put some respect in 2007's name, and you included a pick that I did not even think of. The King of Kong was one of these life-changing documentaries. It just came up recently. I think Will Forte was on Amy Poehler's podcast, Good Hang, and mentioned how he has one of the top scores of Donkey Kong.
Oh, wow.
And he only has that because like of that movie, I think.
Oh,
or he was
watched that.
shooting a movie somewhere where like he went to an arcade and just someone called that guy with the beard who wears the referee
Yes.
jersey, and he like recorded it and like he sent it.
Oh, that's incredible.
Anyway, it's an excellent documentary. One of the fascinating, like, man, I think you need a character to root for in a movie, and I root so hard for the guy in that movie. One of the best villains. in
Steve
every movie.
Wiebe, one of the, and Billy Mitchell, who's in the
Mitchell.
middle of some YouTube drama right now.
Oh,
He's
is he?
suing a YouTuber who tried to discredit some of his records.
Oh my God.
Anyways, there's a lot going on in that
Oh
movie.
my God.
And here's the thing. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 of those movies that like I would never change. Certainly Dune 1, Avengers Endgame, Dark Knight are so, and The Green Room, obviously, like, or honestly, are like so like powerful and so like special to me. I would never change, but all the others, there was probably 5 options for each of those slots that I easily could have gone with and would have still been happy with. Also, it's a reflection of like where I'm at right now. Like lately, I just been watching a lot of like gritty crime movies, and that's just like the zone I'm in. If I were maybe in a happier place as a human being, I'd have more Pixar on there or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but like where I'm at in June of 2025, that list is like, that's what I want more of.
And well done to you, Zach, for having 2 of the most important superhero movies ever made, The Dark Knight and Avengers Endgame, on the list. I cannot say the same for myself, even though I love both of those films. It seems like you really valued first time watching in your picks.
Yes.
Like this, and for both of those movies, first time watching that in the theater, we all walked out of the theater stunned, and you cannot deny how important both those movies were. Can we move on to my picks?
Ooh, let's go.
Okay, I love it. We just use Instagram there. So yes, no superhero representation on this
Whoa.
list.
Though some new Rockstars adjacent work
Yeah.
for sure.
A lot of stuff that you may have seen me dig into on the Deep Dive channel for sure. But the 2007, I think, is the most important movie year in my lifetime, other than maybe 1994. 2007, not only do you have Zodiac, No Country for Old Men, and There Will Be Blood, it's also the year you have The King of Kong, you have Atonement come out that year,
yeah.
you have... The Illusionists, I believe, come out that year. There's like 12 movies that all would have won Best Picture if they came out any other year. That's how good this year was. Ratatouille came out that year as well. But yeah, Mad Max Fury Road, super important. Christopher Nolan, Interstellar, I think over time has become clearly his best film ever made. I know there's a debate on that question. I just think it's a much better movie. Rewatchability, I think, was more important to me than first time watching. I kind of rate like the rewatchability of a movie is 75% of its value versus the first time you saw it in the theater is 25%. I weight it that way. So like all of these movies, the first time I watched them in a movie theater, my mind was blown. But I will say over time, like rewatchability on all 10 of those titles, just they get better and better. And there are 10 movies that every time I watch them, I find something new. And for every single one of them, you can see their DNA in every movie that came after them. Not just animated versus not animated. I believe Zodiac changed every movie that came afterward. Like there are directors who are trying to do what Fincher was trying to do in Zodiac. With No Country for Old Men, like the suspense editing that the Coen brothers accomplished. Every villain is trying to do what Javier Bardem did with Sugar. With Interstellar, every sci-fi film that has come out after Interstellar, I mean, even Fantastic Four: First Steps is trying to do certain things. You can see in the marketing that Nolan invented with Interstellar. So that's why I get like, yes, you could say maybe Memento was a better movie, maybe Oppenheimer was a better movie, but will those two movies be as influential on every movie that came after? I don't know. So that's why I picked the way I did. Now, I am kicking myself for Children of Men not being on that list just because I love that movie.
I mean, there's so many. That's not '07. Is that 2010?
That was 2006.
Six.
Yeah.
Okay, just barely missed it. But I mean, that era, boy, they were cooking with those.
Yeah.
And like, I was gonna say, great diversity of genre you have there. You've got
you.
some animation.
Yeah.
You've got some sci-fi, some fantasy, some kind of period drama.
And some would say Fellowship of the Ring is not the best of the Jackson trilogy. I think it is. I think Two Towers, I think all three films are wonderful and cinematic achievements. And of course, Return of the King won the Oscar Gold for it. But I think Fellowship is the best movie because it is thematically the best structured. It introduces a lot of the themes musically and visually that come back in later forms.
In fact, it's funny. I've like rewatched all of your top 10 probably in the last 2 years.
There you go.
And they're all great. They all hold up. What would have been your number 11?
Probably Children of Men. Probably Children of Men. I have a recency anti-bias. In fact, I was even nervous about putting Parasite on there. Parasite, I think, was the most recent. That was from 2019. And I just think Parasite, past 10 years, the best, in terms of just its visual language, in terms of the themes of it, how important it is as a Marxist allegory for the class structure, and the fact that like it just introduced Bong Joon-ho, someone who we knew from Snowpiercer, but just reintroduced him in such a huge way. Such a good deserving Oscar win.
That
I'm
one's
so glad
ready.
that won.
I'm ready for a rewatch of that. I haven't watched that since the year it won the Best Picture, and so like that would be interesting to see how that like holds up on a second viewing for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in terms of Finding Nemo, I go back and forth on what my favorite Pixar movie is, and Inside Out definitely accomplished something great. I think The Incredibles, I think WALL-E, I think Ratatouille, they just went on such a hot streak in the late aughts, but I think that hot streak began with Finding Nemo, and Finding Nemo is one that like from Thomas Newman's music to just how beautiful that film is to how classic of a story structure that is. I think a lot of the other movies that I just mentioned from Pixar don't have as tight of a story that just breaks your heart at just the right ways. I think a lot of other Pixar movies that came after got a little too indulgent with forcing the tears out of you, and I include Toy Story 3 in that. Toy Story 3, Tarantino says, is the best Pixar film, and I think a lot of people agree is the best Toy Story film. I just think Finding Nemo is just a little bit more subtle in the ways that it does it, and I think it's hard for me to give sequels, movies that have numbers after them, just because I feel like a lot of the hard work was done in the first movie of that franchise. So even though Toy Story 3 is better, and I think Mad Max Fury Road is a legacy sequel, but that really reinvented the world of Mad Max in a way that didn't make it feel like a direct sequel to Road Warrior Beyond Thunderdome.
Reinforces your Fellowship of the Ring pick.
Yeah, and that's why I picked Fellowship of the Ring, yeah. I've spent a lot of time. Let's move on to, just surprises, Matt. Let's pick someone else's.
We here at the Break Room love to talk about food. We get in fights about Bagel Mondays, okay? We're always talking restaurants, or what we brought for lunch, or what we're excited about. We love food. Everybody does. But when you don't have the time to cook, it can be hard to make sure that the food you eat is food you love. Unless you use Factor, okay? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating deliciously and eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. Heat and eat, baby. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success. You get to skip all the shopping and the chopping and the scraping and the scooping, and instead get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and there are over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more. I have recently had the veggie tomato risotto. Ooh-wee. It was very good, perfect level of that tomatoey bite, and the risotto was very creamy. It was delicious, and it was ready in 2 minutes. Get started at factormeals.com/breakroom50off and use code breakroom50off, that's the numbers 50, to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code breakroom50off at factormeals.com/breakroom50off for 50% off plus free shipping. factormeals.com/breakroom50off.
Ooh, Jessica's up
Jessica
next.
Clemens. Okay.
So, Jess, if you want to come defend your picks, I know Jess is somewhere in the office right now, but Jess has so many great
A
picks
couple
here.
that stand out. The Florida Project.
Great pick.
What a bold and wonderful pick that is. Godzilla -1. I mean, she's got a great spectrum of film here. The triplet, I will say, of everybody's list, I have not seen the Triplets of Belleville. That's been on my watch list for a long time. I really need to check that out because I think several people pointed it out on her list as like, oh, great pick. Spirited Away, great choice. I mean, killer. Train to Busan. Jessica's a big horror fan, and so it's like that's a nice pick there.
And I think The Florida Project might be Sean Baker's best film. I mean, he won the Oscar this year, but I think The Florida Project, maybe it's just because I come from Florida, I prefer The Florida Project. And Spirited Away, man, that might have been like my number 12 or number 11. It's maybe the best animated film to come out in my lifetime. I don't know. Would you put any other animated film over Spirited Away? Jess, do you want to join us?
Yeah, I want to join from only in case people were
We're just marveling over your picks. You have so many good picks.
We love your choices.
Gina's here.
And then this photo that we keep using in this office is from when I was 22 years old.
It looks like yesterday.
I do not like it.
Oh, there's
I
a lot
don't like
fewer
my
tattoos.
cleavage is uneven.
Well,
it's all bad.
I wouldn't have
And
noticed.
yeah, there's no
You look
tattoos because I
great.
didn't even have tattoos yet.
Oh, you
Wow.
have aged
And we're
a
getting
day,
everybody.
Jess.
I had one from like 2012. That got
What
pulled
are
out.
we choosing?
Looks like my son.
Is chat roasting us yet?
No,
Or-
well, I don't know. I haven't been looking at the chat.
I don't like it.
Behind you guys.
Yeah, well, we're kind of talking about like, you know, what our thought process was. Jessica, when you're like, I need to make this list, were you saying like, what are the movies today that I think of as like, wow, these are really important to me still? These are movies that like hit me the hardest when I watched them the first time. What was going through your head?
It was real, which I already I slacked about immediately. It was more so that I was like, these are the movies that I want other people to see really badly. I think there are 10 in my book, but there are also just 10 specific movies that I want others to watch, and that could frame me very well. Can you bring it up one more time? Because I just forgot what my 10 were. But yeah, you guys know that I love Godzilla, so I put Godzilla -1. I love Train to Busan. I think, Eric, did you put Finding Nemo?
I did.
And someone else did Wall-E. And I was like, I can't choose between the two. And then I thought, oh, Jessica, a young girl, that story really spoke to you. It's Inside Out. Yeah. Same with the young girl story that spoke to me, Spirited Away. If there's going to be a Studio Ghibli movie, it's either Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke. And I chose Spirited Away.
I think Princess Mononoke was that pre-2000 because I think
it might have
so.
been 98. You're right.
I
It might
think
have been
was
98.
pre-2000.
Okay, so
yeah,
Spirited
because
Away.
we have some overlap. A
Yeah,
lot of
we got
people
Pan's
in New
Labyrinth.
Rockstars- yeah, and Spirited Away overlaps.
And then you gotta put Moonlight in there. But Florida Project is my favorite of his work. I love Tangerine.
Yes.
And I love
Yes.
Anora. But Florida Project is speaking in my behalf. I don't know Florida, and I did not know there was another side of Disney World and Universal.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt very grounded and real. And of course, my number one movie of all time is always Parasite. Always Parasite.
Actually, it's so good.
Yeah.
It is
That's so
so
good.
good.
That's the first repeater. Well, no, I guess Eric and I had some repeats, and
That's
like
a
we both had No
2007.
Country for Old Men. But like you and Eric, your one overlap, I believe, is Parasite. Though, did you have Moonlight too?
I did not have
No,
Moonlight.
okay.
I had Parasite.
What would what if you had an 11th or a 12th?
You know, I went with 10 that I think I want everyone to see in my film repertoire, but also 10 I was thinking highly about critics. And I was like, okay, the film in me knows that these are pretty good picks. I really wanted to put the first Creed movie in there. I really wanted to put the
that's a
first
good
Creed,
one.
or even I would have probably stuck out for Iron Claw, but it was like Creed, Superbad, Iron Claw, that because I didn't choose a comedy, and I was like, I should put a comedy in here, but I really couldn't come up with one, and it was too late. And then now that we see the list that came out, I would have put something from Alfonso Cuarón on there. I did not put any Denny on there. I didn't put Dune. I should have put Dune on there.
Too
Like,
many.
I don't think I had Denny either.
I didn't have any Denny.
And I'm kicking myself because, like, man, might be the best director
Even,
during this
again,
period. Yeah.
I could do a top 10 with like 4 of his
Yeah.
movies in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you have a bunch of foreign language
Yeah.
in there, which is really nice. I mean, I guess depending on how you experience his Spirited Away, you might have watched that dubbed or
That's
whatever.
true,
But
that's true.
Godzilla -1.
Godzilla
and
-1,
Parasite,
Train to Busan,
yeah.
Train to
Train to Busan,
and
yeah.
Triplets of Belleville.
Yes. Not only
good
foreign
pick.
films, but multiple languages represented
Yeah,
there too. Yeah.
it's not surprising that can you pull up the list one more time? I think I have one white film, and it's Inside Out and the
Oh
Florida
yeah. Oh,
Project.
Pan's Labyrinth is another foreign language.
Yeah,
Spanish,
yeah,
So
yeah.
I watch a
Yeah.
lot of POC written movies and director movies because you just got a vast diversity in film, and you should dabble in every form of content, no matter what did he say. If you could just get past that 1-inch bar of dialogue
Yes.
from the closed
Yeah.
captions, you would have a breadth of knowledge for film.
Totally. And dialogue is just one small part of what makes movies great. And like movies are a visual medium. And like all of your picks here are such great visually told stories. They put the visuals before any of the words that are spoken, I would say.
Yeah.
Take this down. I don't.
Yes.
My 22-year-old.
Also, boy, there are nights when I'm like, I need to watch a captioned or a foreign language film because like I'm a little too on my phone today. And I need to.
that's a
I don't
good
want
point.
to. I don't want
Yeah.
to be half checked into this movie.
Yeah.
And like when you're watching a foreign language closed caption movie or whatever, right? Like
Yeah,
you've got to
you
pay
gotta pay
attention. You've
attention.
got to read the whole time. I can't be like kind of half doing something else. So often, like I find myself most invested in those films lately. Yeah.
100%.
Great picks. Oh, do we have Gina's list? at
I
the
want.
ready?
I want to stay on for Gina's.
Yeah.
I want to stay on for Gina's. Gina's is a good list.
I don't think I was ever sent to Gina.
Oh yeah, we were
Oh,
because
sorry.
Gina did it too late.
I
Here,
did it late. I did it late.
But I have it here. Stand by.
Now, Gina, while we're standing by, why did it take you so long? To do
Listen, I got so overwhelmed.
it? We could send it really quick to Matt if it helps.
I don't know. Is it too late to send? Probably.
I can pull it up in like a.
Ooh, Magic Man. Yeah, when
Fix it in post, make it nice.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
when people started to send them, I thought that there was a master list somewhere that had 25 years worth of films on it, and I was like, well, where are we choosing from? And everyone was like, just go to your Letterbox, or like I think I have one movie on my Letterbox account. Like I just like haven't been adding them.
I know.
And
That's
so-
the challenge. You just have to pull it from the dome.
Yeah. And so like I didn't look at everyone else's list until after I did mine because I didn't want to be influenced.
That's true.
And so I looked at like the New York Times top 100 list. I looked at what IMDb says is top. And then I knew that like my genres are I love animation, love horror, and so I started looking up like the list of the best horror movies, the best animated movies, because I knew I would have a few on there.
So do you want to read your picks for everybody?
Yeah. So I've got Shaun of the Dead. I had to put a comedy on there, and that's to me is one of the best. I think Brandon was the one who had Hot Fuzz. I had to debate between those. A Mighty Wind. It's a Christopher Guest movie.
Yeah.
I think there was another. I think a lot of people might have put
Best in Show.
Best in
Oh,
Show.
I'm so mad I didn't put Best in Show.
But and I had Best in Show, and then
90s.
I was like, you know what? Mighty Wind edges it out a little bit for me. Coraline.
damn, I should have put Coraline on my damn list.
We would
damn,
have a lot of the same
damn, I should have
ones.
put Coraline on my list. You're right.
Cabin in the Woods is one that like
Yep.
I rewatch every October. As a horror nerd, it's like just the best like deconstruction of horror movie. Kill Bill Volume 1, Avengers Endgame.
You go volume 1 over volume 2.
You know, honestly, I wish I could just take them both together because they are clearly so. But I remember seeing the first one and not knowing what to expect. And the reason it edges out the second one is because going into the second one, I had higher expectations because I'd seen the first one.
Yeah.
If I could watch each of them in a bubble, I think Volume 2 is probably the superior movie. But like my reaction to it was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life after the first one.
I like that was
Valid.
that was everyone's like Quentin Tarantino pick too. It was
Yeah,
good, though.
yeah. Avengers Endgame, again, that was like one that I had such a strong reaction to in the theater with everyone cheering and crying. And like, it's one of the last great, theater moments for me. So I associate it with that. WALL-E, this was a tough one because like so many good Pixar movies, but again, I remember seeing WALL-E and being like, why am I crying because of a robot? Like in just like the opening scene, I was like, if anything happens to this robot, I'm gonna murder this theater. Pan's Labyrinth, just like Jess, I own it on DVD. I rewatch it all the time. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, tough to pick which one of these, but obviously this is sort of like the Godfather 2 of everyone's discussion. And Spirited Away, just like Jess. Another one that I rewatch constantly. I've rewatched the English version and because also those American actors, those English speaking actors who dub it, it's like Elle Fanning, or wait, maybe
Christian Bale
maybe
is
Dakota
much more-
Fanning.
It's probably Dakota.
Yeah.
Elle's
I'm
too
like,
young.
Elle is like 2 years old. Yeah, I gotta get my parents back. They turned
Was
into
it?
pigs.
Oh no, it's Princess Mononoke that had Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh yeah. They got top tier voice acting for
Keith
it.
David, I think, is Princess Mononoke too.
Oh, yeah.
They grabbed so many crazy people. Having Christian Bale as the voice for Howl's Moving Castle is insane.
I will say like I had two others that sort of fell by the wayside. And they were Get Out and Triplets of Belleville.
I wish I didn't put Get Out on mine. You have a really good
I
list.
gotta
Yours is
do.
hard.
Now that so many people have endorsed Triplets of Belleville, I've never seen it.
Yeah,
and I
you
got
got
it. It's
to.
at the top of my list now. I gotta watch
It's
it.
a great animation. It's so
great.
fun.
It's so good. There's not even that much talking in it. It's like one of those like that's just like gorgeously animated, and you don't notice that there's almost no dialogue.
Everyone chose Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Instead of the first one?
Yeah, that is over the first one. Is
I
that
chose
crazy?
Fellowship. I chose the
You
first
chose
one.
Fellowship?
It's a hard toss up.
It is a hard toss-up, and Return of the King has some sequences in it that might be better than any one sequence in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Now that I think back on it, I just think, like, Fellowship just does so many things well.
Yeah.
And as a movie, as a 3-hour experience in the director's cut, I just prefer it, I think.
But it's
I
always
also-
between those two.
Well, some people say
Yeah.
that Two Towers,
Oh, yeah, I
I
love
think
Two
Berg
Towers,
might have picked
dude.
Two Towers, but, like, the thing about Two Towers is, like, they conceived of this to be a 2-parter movie, and then they wanted to do it as 3, but the New Line, or I think Miramax was like, try to do it as 2. And so they really had to kind of cobble together some story logic to make Two Towers make sense. And the fact that they pulled off Two Towers, I think Two Towers was the hardest of the 3 stories to pick out.
Yeah.
Because they had to, like, really restructure so many things to make it make sense. And the fact that it does at all is, like, a miracle.
I think the first one is the most quotable. Like whenever you're
And my axe.
and my axe. Yeah.
It's the only. Well, speaking of, we just invoked Berg. Matt, do we have
Did we get Bergs?
producer
surprised you
Berg's
didn't put, like,
list? Here it is.
That's such a young
Like,
picture of
I was,
Berg.
like, going
Oliver.
through them.
That was like
Oh,
Berg's like
This
Baby
is
Bird,
his UCB
Baby
photo,
Bird.
dude.
That was
That is his UCB
that was on
photo.
the UCB website in 2005.
No, that is the.
Now,
This is like
Where's
5
his
years before
glasses?
Berg's Terriers
Is
performance.
Berg in the chat? Is he gonna defend himself?
yeah, I don't
Oh, he's
know.
gonna be so
I love his
creepy.
list. First appearance of Everything Everywhere All at Once that probably all of
Yeah.
us would have if it were a 20 movie list.
Yes.
A repeat of Children of Men, There Will Be Blood, No Country. We've seen before. Shaun of the Dead coming back, as Gina mentioned, another Endgame. But then he's got some first timers here. The Witch, which definitely would be on my 20 movie list.
I considered
I
it.
was trying to think of Robert Eggers. I was like, which one am I gonna put on?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I just didn't have room.
And then maybe the most obscure movie on his list, Four Lions, is a great British comedy, like kind of social satire movie with a young Riz Ahmed in it. It's very dark. It's a comedy about terrorists.
Yeah.
But man, it works.
It really
It
works.
works.
Did it come out in theaters in 2010?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
very-
you know,
it was an
came and
indie
go. It was not a huge
Yeah.
movie. It kind of has developed a cult following, but
I expected Berg to have some wild cards on his.
yes.
I was not expecting Endgame.
Yeah, it seems too mainstream for him.
It does seem too mainstream. I thought he was gonna go way more out of the box. I knew every movie except for that one, so I thought he was gonna choose the craziest thing.
I'm a
Yeah.
little disappointed there's not more extremely scientific movies on there.
Yeah. The Secrets of Octopi.
Yeah, something about entropy and nuclear fusion.
Or
something
just like the notes for Primer, not Primer, but
Yeah,
the notes
yeah,
for
yeah.
Primer, like the diagrams of Primer.
Yeah.
I have in my head because Primer, directed by Shane Carruth, because Berg is part of a 3-man improv team called Convoy. In my head keeps thinking that Convoy were the 3 guys in Primer, and it's not. Like they're also very funny, very talented
Gannon.
people, and Fernie has directed quite a bit of stuff too. So like, but they're not Shane Carruth.
Alex Berg, who's works in New Rockstars, he's made a couple appearances on the Breakroom, but helps us with a lot of stuff at New Rockstars, and is like frequently our go-to science correspondent when we've got a science. He helped a lot on the Last of Us coverage, talking about fungus.
Yeah, he knows a lot
and
about fungus, a lot about sea.
a lot about
animals.
outer space and sea animals
Yeah, he has
and
like
all
a
kinds of
weird
fun
array
stuff.
of skulls.
Yeah. Everyone is now concerned for us that we work with this man. We're like, whose skulls are they?
Whose skulls are those?
Was that the first appearance of Royal Tenenbaums?
I was gonna say, is that the
Yes.
first Wes Anderson?
First
I
Wes
think the
Anderson.
first Wes Anderson.
That's-
Yeah.
Is it only Wes Anderson? I mean,
Did anyone else have
No Grand Budapest or
no Grand
no, not so
Yeah.
far. Both Grand Budapest and one other Wes Anderson made the top 30
Well, I mean,
okay.
of the New York
it's not
Times
Moonrise
list.
Kingdom, is it?
No.
Do you remember what the
not
second one
the-
was? It was Grand Budapest, and was it Royal Tenenbaums or was it
It
something
might have
else?
been Royal
It was
Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums was on there because I remember after the fact I looked at it and I was like, oh, I would. This would be in.
It wasn't the Bill Murray one, Life Aquatic, or is that?
No,
Bruce
no.
Willis?
I think they're all Bill Murray.
Are they
ones.
all Bill Murray ones? Well, what's Tom Hanks one?
But that's a
So-
good question on when that one came, because Rushmore was the 90s.
Rushmore.
Yeah.
And
No, but Life Aquatic
Bottle
with Steve
Rocket
Zissou was after. Royal
yeah, you're right.
Tenenbaums.
You're right. So it would have
Would
been.
we have put Wes Anderson in any of our top 20s?
I would have put Grand Budapest in my top 20.
What number would you put it?
Probably like 18
Yeah,
to 20.
I was like, it would be in the far back.
Because I think it
Yeah.
is a perfect
I
film.
do, I agree.
I would have
agree.
probably put Tenenbaums.
Yeah,
like
Tenenbaums might have been my
18 or
highest.
19,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
Rushmore is my favorite of his movies, but that was in the 90s, so
Yeah.
it qualified.
I love
yeah.
Rushmore.
And I think that's why I didn't pick any Tarantino. Like I feel like I missed out. I really love Django Unchained. I love Inglourious Bastards. I just think like if I'm gonna put anything on the list, it'd be Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If they would have allowed the 90s,
Oh.
it would have just been the 90s.
But I
Yeah.
think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was
Was high on
Yeah,
the
it was-
list.
yeah.
highest
Well, I
ranking
thought
Tarantino.
it was in the 40s.
Oh,
Am I
really?
I thought
wrong?
we read it
I
in the top
remember
30.
it was on.
Oh, okay,
on
sorry.
there.
It was the
You
only
might be
one.
right.
He only
I
had
was-
one that was in the top 30.
There
yeah.
were some that were in like number 47 that I was like, whoa, it's far back.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
again-
there's been a lot of movies, a lot of
Inglourious
good movies.
Bastards 11? 11? Sorry,
Okay.
sorry
So
for
people
my
really-
Or
outburst.
14 for
14.
Inglourious Bastards might have been
wow.
his
People
highest.
love it. People like it.
Another movie that I think is
14?
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
find
yeah.
a flaw in
That's
Inglourious
a good. That's a
Yeah.
good call. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's a
actually
good
that's
movie.
not.
I don't know
bad.
if it's like top 14.
I don't
good,
think it's
but
14.
I do like it.
I think Django's higher than Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won the Oscar for Django, but not for Inglourious.
Let's pivot here, and if anybody needs to go, please. But I really want to pull up Editor Abby's list.
Let's bring up Abby.
As soon as
A
Abby's
change
is
of
done, we
pace.
have to
Abby.
choose that.
Change of pace. Which again, everybody's pictures are a little unfair.
Barbie Abby.
That's not how she shows up to work.
No, it is.
Also,
She's
we'll say like
beautiful.
one of the younger
Yes.
employees at New Rockstars.
Yes.
So I think we can see that maybe.
And like I joked when she posted this list that like half of these are some of my favorite movies of all time, and the other
Maybe-
half I'm not sure are real movies.
Here's my
like
girl.
Herbie
Maybe-
Fully
maybe-
Loaded,
Here's my
maybe-
or High School Musical 3.
Abby, do you want to join us?
Abby,
Abby,
Ross here.
My question is, were you born in in 2000? Were you at the beginning of this list? Were you alive yet?
No, I was July '99.
Oh, all right, all right.
So let's send it. Do you want to? What's going through your mind as you make your top 10? What criteria are you using to pick?
Well, I was thinking, yes, my heart. I'm a big Western Americana person.
Okay.
As your photo indicates here.
That's
Barbie. That's Barbie.
That's for my Barbenheimer birthday party.
nice.
My birthday is July 21st. But I don't even know where to. Herbie Fully Loaded is my favorite movie. Period.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
yes.
that's a good pick.
I think that's
That's a good pick.
Lindsay Lohan's best performance, Michael Keaton's best performance
What?
of his career.
Oh, wow.
Wait,
Okay.
Abby, have you ever seen the movie
No.
Mr. Mom?
Yes, I have.
Oh, all right. I was not expecting that. I'm
I
gonna be
mean,
real.
more than Beetlejuice. I mean, Beetlejuice.
Batman. Batman.
He was
Like-
basically Beetlejuice and Herbie Fully Loaded. What are you talking about?
Now, would you say is Herbie Fully Loaded the movie you've seen the most times in your life of any movie? Do you think?
Yes, or Incredibles.
All right.
I want to add.
both
No,
solid.
Incredibles didn't make your list.
I
though.
know.
Oh.
I was struggling with animated, and then I maybe would have gone Tangled, and then maybe Incredibles, and then I panicked
okay.
and did Frozen.
I think Frozen's also safe.
Yeah.
I will also want to add
Yeah.
that when Abby first started, when we were talking about what's everyone's favorite movies, Abby said Herbie Fully Loaded.
Yeah.
Very first day, not knowing any of
And,
us.
Yeah.
and
Consistent.
I gotta say, of any list that we've seen so far, including the New York Times official one, the most comedy. On
Yeah,
your
that's
list.
true. That's true.
Kudos to you.
Also, the widest.
the most musical.
The
Yes.
widest difference, you have Frozen versus No Country for Old Men.
You having the disaster arc. 2017's the
Yeah.
disaster arc. You
Wild.
in the most respectful way. Not
is
even
the
in a
most-
mean way. I just want to know. You think that's one of the top 10?
I think that it connects to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. With,
Okay,
my
yeah,
love
yeah.
for Hollywood.
I love how
The
unhinged
American
this is.
dream of cinema.
I agree. I think it's the Ed Wood of our generation.
I think there's a decent chance. I love your list, Abby. I think you did the best job of not that I know you that well, but you could read that list and be like, oh, I maybe understand Abby's personality.
Yeah, a little bit.
Also, I
Also-
think you did the best job of ignoring the other lists.
Yeah, just
that's
stuck to your
I
guns.
think all of us got too hung up on the New York Times says
I was just going
Tarantino's
through.
films are the
Yeah.
best, so
Do you,
we
do
let
you
it
think
affect us.
when the New York Times was tabulating all the points, those were the only votes for Herbie Fully Loaded?
That has to be.
It has to be.
For Herbie, can you bring it up one more
No
time?
way. There's someone else out there that put her fully
No,
loaded.
actually, no, I changed it. It's probably Herbie Fully Loaded. It's probably High School Musical 3 because that is the weakest of the High School musicals.
You could have done 1 and 2. I did check.
Which is crazy. You didn't choose 2. You chose 3.
I thought I would do 3 because it was the first theatrical one.
It's-
Highest budget.
Abby, we're not even gonna get into this on camera.
Is that the
worst
return
one.
of the king of
High
School Musical?
School Musical. That's
Yeah.
High School Musical
No, it's
3,
The Godfather
It's kind
3.
of a hot take, but it has the best music.
I don't think that's true at all.
I think
that
that-
is not true at all. It's the second one, but I did see the third one in theaters. I went in
Yeah.
theaters to go see the
Wait,
third
I
one.
will say I think Abby's list is probably exactly the same list that Lindsay Lohan made.
Oh my god.
She put Lady Bird and Little Women.
No, I gotta say,
Yeah.
shout out
She
to
did. No, she did.
Lady Bird is a killer pick.
Yeah, you did.
Hell or High Water is a
Yes,
killer
love
pick.
that movie.
A couple slightly lower on the radar, but excellent.
Need some
flicks.
Greta Gerwig representation
Yeah.
there. She is one of our best
Yeah.
working
No Barbie. Did you think about putting Barbie in?
Yeah, you
I
put
did. I
Barbie.
think I would have maybe done Barbie over Lady Bird, but I identified.
It's only
with
room
Lady
for
Bird.
one woman.
That might have been your 11th or 12th, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hannah Montana the movie was my other.
That is
But-
so wild. We
I
need to
love
have a
it. I
day
love
that
how
is going
unhinged.
back to Disney TV shows, and it just be me and Abby going back.
Yes.
I also think we should be forced to watch any movie on someone else's list that we have not
I've
seen.
watched
do
Abby's
that.
30
I'll do
times.
that.
I watch Abby's all the
Jess
time.
was the most supportive of
Yeah.
my list. Zach was not.
Are we surprised?
It's just
He's not
I'm-
mad
I
at me.
could
He's
be-
just disappointed.
I'm technically old enough to be Abby's dad, and so maybe there's just a generational schism, where it's
Yeah.
I can't like the things my daughter likes.
Kids these days.
I can't wait until your daughter turns on Herbie Fully Loaded, falls in love, and makes you watch it over
Yeah,
and over. and over.
yeah.
Or Hannah Montana, High School Musical.
Yeah.
Specifically the
Give
second
your daughter the
two.
Abby treatment. Get her indoctrinated early.
Again, your other 7 of the other movies on there are movies I love so much, so I got to check
Yeah.
out those 3 that I've never seen. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you have to start with High School Musical 1.
I hope Zach comes in the office next week singing all of High School Musical 3.
This
Have you
is
watched
the
the
start
show?
of something new.
Stop.
And I have seen the show.
The show is perfect. I love the show.
That's great.
This was a great list. I'm
I think
obsessed.
it's the only list we have left. Brandon's.
We have Brandon.
Oh,
Thank you, Abby.
Brandon.
Abby, I can't wait to bring you back on to talk about Disney stuff.
Sweet little Brandon.
A pre-mustache Brandon Barrick.
He's on a sabbatical right now, so he won't hear us making fun of him.
Again, we got another Wes Anderson pick, a Fantastic Mr. Fox pick.
The first mention of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which
went-
is maybe the best Marvel movie. I think.
Clip of Volume 1
yeah.
again. Hot Fuzz is
It's over Shaun of the Dead as
adaptation.
I
You had
would've- I
adaptation.
would've
Oh, no,
loved
you had Eternal Sunshine, right, Eric? You didn't have.
I did have Eternal
Adaptation.
Sunshine.
Oh, I
did have
considered adaptation. That's a good pick.
He, genre-wise, kind of went all over the place,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
respect.
you're
That's the
right.
wide
completely.
net. Chicago.
I'm so mad at you.
Is
for
this
Chicago
the
on my
wait?
list.
Is this the only straight up? I mean, I realize Disney movies like Frozen are musicals, but is this the only live action musical that made the list?
Yeah,
High
none
School
of us put
Musical
Wicked.
version.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
sorry,
I
sorry,
apologize.
yeah,
I
you forgot
apologize.
Forgot about the cult classic.
I mean, another Spider-Verse, that could have been number 11 on my list. You know what I mean? Like, that's another movie
Yes,
that
yes.
would have been a valid addition to my list, too.
Yeah.
I think a hard part is like immediately your brain wants to separate them by genres or just by how they're created.
Yeah.
And immediately I didn't even think of Spider-Man because I was like, oh, I got 2 animated films on here.
Yeah, I
and I was like, I
considered
wish
it, but I was
would've.
pretty animation heavy at that point. So
Because you always got to choose one Pixar.
I
you
do,
gotta choose
yeah,
one something else.
But I do love how animation forward this company is. I feel like a lot of people overlook it when it comes to best picture picks.
did sorry. Did any animations make the top 10?
Let's see. I don't know.
the official top 10? Did they even
The
make the
official
top
top
20?
10.
What's
That would
the
be so
highest?
sad.
Spirited
Oh,
Away
Spirited
Oh,
Away.
Spirited Away is the
Barely
highest.
nice.
was number 9.
Yes.
And then that might have been the highest ranked.
Honestly, if you're gonna give an award to animation, I'm glad Miyazaki took it.
Yeah. It might be most.
Inter-
doesn't
but
give
in,
a
in,
fuck
a,
about
in
this
an
top
era
10.
that is
Right.
truly like includes the golden era of Pixar
Yeah.
and like some decent Disney animation, but not maybe their golden era, but
Right.
like pretty impressive that
Yeah.
a Ghibli movie is way above.
I mean,
those.
honestly, like, I love Pixar, I love Disney. I think Studio Ghibli has a much higher hit rate. And it's because they release
It's
one movie
one
every
every 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
they're all-
every single one is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my least favorite is Ponyo, and I love that movie. to
Yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, they
They're just
We
perfect.
also John had a list too, right? Do Matt? Oh, there we go. Okay.
wild.
Now there's
That's
some
crazy.
wild choices in here, though. It's also
It's a good round.
another
it's a good mix.
Moonlight, another Everything Everywhere, another Parasite. Did you also have Arrival, Eric?
I did not. I didn't have
Oh,
any Denis Villeneuve, and I'm regretting it because I would have. Arrival would
I
have been in my
mean,
top.
Midsommar, great pick. Her is a big one for me too that I would have
Wow.
loved. Now, I did mock John for his Wild pick a little bit. Not that that's not a bad movie, but like, does anybody think of that movie and is like that's
I
a top
don't,
10?
but I can see John putting it in his top 10.
I mean, it's appropriate. He's in a hiking
That's
picture
true,
there.
that's
His
true.
profile photo.
Is he reading a compass or a My little sweet.
And then Yi Yi, that last movie, that also made that was pretty high in the New York Times list.
I'm gonna admit
That's a
I
film
have
I have
not
not
seen
seen, and now I really want to check it out.
Yeah.
Per John's endorsement.
I'm surprised none of us else put The Social Network in ours.
Yeah, I think if I had to put one Fincher, I'd have to put Zodiac. But The Social Network is so good.
The Social Network's so good, dude.
It's good,
Yeah.
but it makes me feel so icky that I can't, like, it's not, like, super
Yeah.
rewatchable
Yeah,
for
the
me.
I haven't.
Watchability
That hasn't hit me yet in
Oh, I
film.
think it
I can
is.
keep watching the ickiest movies
I,
like
I,
that.
I think I rewatch The Social Network
I-
once per year.
I watch The Social
So,
Network a
yeah.
lot.
I
It's
love the
crazy.
music. It's just the Atticus.
Also, John went to film school,
Trevor.
so that's why you don't see any superhero movies on there.
Hey,
Any big
Oh,
budget
wait,
popcorn
didn't a bunch of
movie.
us go to film school?
Okay, but you know what I mean. He embraces that part of his personality the most.
I think you just called him a secret douche.
Can you put John's up one more time? I'm so sorry. Yeah, Midsommar. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
good.
Honestly, I had E2 Mama Tambien, and it got bumped out, I think, by one of my other picks.
I wish I would have put that on there. Her is interesting because I don't know if I'd put her in my top 10, but I get it.
Again, I don't know if I
Her's
want to
good.
rewatch
Her-
that one a bunch.
That's me with her.
And that's one that made that's in the top. Was that one of the top 20s or no? Did that not?
Her, I don't think. I don't think it would be that
hard to
high.
say.
I think people
Let's
forget
see
about her a
Spectrum.
little bit sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. It weirdly kind of came and went, even though it was very prescient.
Her
given
is
our-
24.
Okay.
Yeah, that's too low.
And it beat adaptation. in
I,
terms of Spike
of
Jonze.
those two films, I think adaptation is the stronger choice.
Yeah, I agree, but they're both killers.
Yeah.
I mean, Her was like weirdly prophetic in the way that The Social Network was, in terms of the way technology, and now the fact that we're seeing AI relationships are now like a thing. Like
People
there's
are
a
going-
community
That's
of
true.
People are going to rehab
Yeah.
for like their relationship to
Yeah.
an AI.
Yeah. AI needs to start getting better at dumping people, is what I think. Because then they won't have these unrealistic expectations.
we
People are
just-
still gonna kill them.
We need to add in.
That's true.
We need more rejection from AI. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying?
I think a lot of people are like, wow, this AI really.
Teach the AI to reject us.
I think
that's
we have to
what-
start breaking up with
Yeah,
AI.
we gotta
more.
start
We gotta
doing that.
But
initiate
that's
it.
what happens in Her. She essentially like breaks up with him.
Now, I mean, I'm stumbling
You
here.
good?
No, I'm drunk with
stroke?
power. Matt, do we have any other lists that we didn't get to? I don't want to leave anybody out.
That's it.
Okay, great. Throw in the chat. What was there a movie that didn't make any of our lists that you think is one of the best movies of the last 25 years? Also, so the only Marvel movies that made any of our lists were Avengers Endgame on a couple of them.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
but
Into the
Yeah,
Spider-Verse
yeah.
shouldn't. Yeah.
I might have included 2017's Logan in my
I
top
considered
20.
it too.
Yeah.
I considered it too.
Yeah. Would
Oh,
anybody?
oh, damn! I forgot about Logan.
I mean, you know, you could throw in.
damn! I forgot about Logan. Sorry.
Probably my top 25, I would have had a Black Panther in there.
Yes,
I might
yes.
have had a Thor Ragnarok. That's kind of
Damn,
like my
Zach.
low-key, one of my favorites. Would anybody have had another, The Dark Knight showed up once or twice. I know I had it on my list. Anybody have another superhero movie outside of Marvel?
From the past
Anything in the first class genre? Anything in the...
I mean, I think a Batman would have been on there. Like maybe.
maybe The Batman, maybe Matt Reeves' The Batman.
The hard part is
That's
also
tough.
seeing this list, choosing 10, and then being like, as a critic, I could see the flaws in some of these movies.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so, like, that's what turned me away from a little bit of them, like Thor Ragnarok. I'm stumbling because I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't put any Martin Scorsese on my list.
Well, I just
Yeah.
think his best work was not
Yeah,
in
and-
this
yeah.
past
Yeah.
quarter century. I think The Wolf of Wall Street is amazing, but is it like
Better-
Goodfellas?
Pretty high
Yeah,
on there.
yeah,
It's
yes.
oh my god,
Is it
better than
Goodfellas?
Goodfellas?
Is it Raging
Absolutely
Bull?
not.
No, it's a weird move to pick the sixth best Martin Scorsese
Yeah.
movie
Yeah,
as
yeah,
your
yeah.
top 10,
But also,
right?
but also, I agree that the sixth best Martin Scorsese movie is better than most other movies.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
like,
100.
like when we're pitting,
we-
we're pitting directors
we mentioned
against
that,
themselves.
there's a bunch
but-
of like, you know, a lot of Spielberg's best work was before this. A lot of Spike
Oh,
Lee's best work was
absolutely.
before this era. Like,
Yeah.
they're still doing good work now, and they have
Yeah.
in the last 25 years. But it's hard to pick like the fifth favorite movie
Right,
of a
when you
director.
know there's somebody
right?
better.
What
Yeah,
is
yeah.
I mean, Spielberg's been working. He releases
Yeah.
a movie every other
Do you-
year.
yeah.
So what is his best movie since 2000? Is it
I mean, West
Lincoln?
Side
Bridge of
Story?
Spies,
West Side Story, maybe?
West Side Story. Yeah.
I love
that's the thing.
Minority
I wouldn't
Report.
give it to West Side Story.
I mean, that movie
Top
was
10 though?
gorgeous.
I'm like, that's a hard.
I mean, The
part.
Fablemans.
Wait, I think that's
The Fablemans is like a perfectly constructed movie,
think-
but like, who cares about The
That,
Fablemans?
okay, that was my question. I was
do.
about to say, did Fablemans make that list?
I don't think it did.
Because I love Fablemans, but I am also like, I don't think it's nowhere in my.
I will
there-
say The
wait, is there-
Fablemans might have the best closing shot of any movie in the past 25
Wait,
years.
what of his movies did make the list?
A lot, dude, a lot.
Oh, really?
Or Martin Scorsese, sorry.
No,
sorry, it's not
no.
Spielberg.
No,
Not-
it's
not-
gonna line
so-
on Spielberg.
Spielberg,
Oh, Minority
Spielberg comes
Report.
in at number 94 with Minority Report,
I
Four
do
with
like
Minority
Minority
and
Report.
that's it.
Wow.
94 for
I
I mean, doesn't,
Minority Report.
Lincoln didn't make the list. The Post, Bridge of Spies,
Spielberg.
Ready Player One didn't make the
No,
list.
well, that's
Wait a minute.
correct. That's correct.
That's
That-
on the map. The fact-
justice for Steve. Real quick,
94 is.
He's having a
and
bad
it might
week
be
because
it might
of
be his
list.
best movie of the quarter
I
century.
wonder if we're due, if he gets hit by a bus tomorrow, we're due for a reevaluation of his last 20 years. But let's pray that doesn't happen. He's got an Alien movie coming out next year that we're all going to get really
Yeah.
geeked for. Real quick, I want to, Gina and Jessica, you're kind of the New Rockstars resident. Like, I think you guys love horror
Oh,
the
yeah.
most of anybody on staff. And we saw somebody had The Witch, somebody had Midsommar, whatever. But like, maybe that is a genre that even if you watch a ton of horror and
Yeah.
you love a lot of horror, when you have to think of your top 10 movies, maybe not as many of those creep up there.
I think
like,
we both have. I would categorize Pan's Labyrinth as
Yes, high fantasy.
Del
horror.
Toro's stuff
yeah, fantasy
frequently gets
horror,
into that.
and we both had that on the list.
I also, it's hard to critique like a horror films in that degree because I would put Cabin in the Woods on mine.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is great, and I love the deconstruction of it all. But then when it comes to like horror, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, you're out of your
The
mind.
golden age of golden age of horror of like the 80s. But yeah, I do, and also I think like I had Coraline on mine. You could
that's a
make
great
arguments
one,
that is a
close to it,
horror. You know, but
They do have to go through a little bit more hurdles in horror to get on this list, though.
yeah. Agreed. But yeah, I do think that like I think we saw like The Witch, Midsommar. Like I think there were a few on there, and for a genre that I think is much maligned by the average public, or like people don't think about them as good movies.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I love a bad horror movie. There were more on the list than I expected there to be.
I mean, Hereditary might have been in my top 20. Like, there's some others. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the, I don't know how they fall in this era, but like some of the K horror, the J horror,
Yeah.
they were doing some, especially in the early part of this era, we're doing some really
that's
good
the
work.
thing.
Train to Busan, do we
Yeah.
consider
Oh,
that
that's a
horror?
good-
I that's the hard thing is like I'm always like thriller.
Yeah, that's
because that's
true,
what I
that's
put Get
true.
Out too.
But
and
it's
I'm like,
technically zombies.
Yeah.
So
And it's because like that kind of started it for us, like the Korean horror and
Yeah.
that distance horror was like, oh, there's a time in like 2003 to 2009 where we were making American versions of all those horror movies, and we
yeah.
were doing a horrible job at it.
also some just missed the cutoff. Blair Witch, what was
Oh,
that? 98.
Yes.
The Ring
Yes.
was maybe
I mean,
like,
the OG Scream is in the 90s.
Yeah,
Like, there's
The
the
Ring,
90s was
The
a nice horror
Grudge.
time.
I would have put the Blair Witch as number 1.
Yeah, I mean, truly, like I even like I looked up because I was like, I know I want horror on my list, so I looked up a list of the best like 100 horror movies. A lot of them from the 60s, a lot of them from the 70s, but they're like not as many today.
Yeah,
Blair
and
Witch.
it'll be interesting to like reevaluate some of these lists like in 10 years. When we
Yeah.
look back on this era and see what has aged well. Like I was already mocking the New York Times list had Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest both in the top 30. And I'm like, those are good movies. Will I look back in 10 years and be like, those were the top 30
Yeah.
movies the last 25 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested about the math of people like remembering the most recent versus
Yeah,
the
recency
latest.
bias,
Because again,
yeah.
Mulholland Drive made it very high, but then Zone of Interest what was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, people are really nostalgic about some movies. They remember that one from like 2003, 2004,
Yeah.
and then the earlier ones come a little bit later.
And honestly, did Mulholland Drive get a bump up 10 or 20 spots? Because David Lynch just died, and a lot of people went back and watched a lot of David Lynch movies
you're right,
when he
you're
passed.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
it
That
took
makes a
pressure
lot
on
of
people's
sense.
brain.
Yeah.
you
that
know?
makes
Yeah,
sense because
you
I
were
was
right.
confused. I
because
went and
is
watched
that-
it and I
is-
was like, wait a
Mulholland
minute.
Drive is amazing, but
Yeah.
is it Blue Velvet? You know?
No,
Like,
also,
but, I mean, it's not.
I've recently,
Blue Velvet
here's a hard
completely.
take for late in the video. I recently rewatched Mulholland Drive. That movie's incomprehensible. And like, I get it, it's like a puzzle box movie, and like some people really geek out on like a puzzle box movie. I like to understand a movie while I watch it.
Zach,
okay?
you should have gone to film school.
That's
Damn.
true.
They
Yeah,
have,
I
they
should
have you dissected in every film
And after
class.
seeing Zach's top 10 movies,
I know. All of my movies, you can understand them on the first watch. You don't need to go read the Wikipedia to understand what you were seeing. Okay. But I'm really interested to hear from the audience. Whose list, whose top 10 do you vibe with the most? Maybe has the most overlap for you or inspired you? Maybe some rewatches you want to do or whatever. What did collectively the New Rockstars crew leave off that you think would have been a really strong pick? Or even that like the New York Times is underrated, right? Is there something in the 80s that you're like, there's no way that deserves to be that low? We'd love
Not
to
the
hear.
1980s, in the number
No,
of
in
years.
the yeah. And what there's almost nothing from 2025, which makes sense because we're only halfway through that year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd love to hear from folks like, what have you seen in the last 6 months that you think deserves to be on this list?
6 months, that's
I mean, what have you guys seen
Minecraft
it?
movie.
girl.
Chicken Jack?
Yeah, thank God the children didn't find this list and start New York Times accounts. They would have put, again, Zach
I
Snyder.
mean, you know what? I don't know that it's a lock for this, but Thunderbolts might have cracked my top 100 for
top
sure.
100, okay.
You
I
know
was
what I
like,
mean?
what?
I really
I
enjoyed that
think
movie.
if I had to choose last 6 months, I think I have to go with Sinners.
Yes,
Oh,
good
yeah,
pick.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That-
That would
last
probably
6
be,
months?
that would probably be my pick if it's.
I think it's
if
been
we're
the best
talking-
movie of this year
Yeah,
so far.
yeah,
For
agreed.
me.
I mean, unless I'm forgetting something
I'm trying.
that like came out, but yeah, in recent memory, it would be Sinners for me.
Wasn't there something that went straight to HBO? Am I wrong? I'm
Mountain
trying to
Head
think.
or
It's kind of bad.
well, it'll be really interesting because like often we still have a lot of good movies left this year, and often like the more Oscar aiming films are kind of backloaded in the year, in the fall. So like maybe there will be some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is a fun opportunity to look back. Again, I want to fill up my queue now with like, okay, oh God, I got to see that movie, or I want to rewatch
I'm
that.
gonna
you
go
a
watch
Letterboxd
Four
guy?
Lions.
I know I've started an account. I'm like you, but I
Yeah.
don't keep it up.
I'm on Letterboxd, and I remember that I'm on Letterboxd once per month, and
Right.
I go in there and update.
So
Right.
none of us are good at Letterboxd.
No.
What you're
Very
saying?
bad at it.
Though, you know what I have gotten good at? I just have a notes app of like every movie I see in a year and like one sentence review,
Smart.
just that I remember and
Yeah,
like
that's smart.
otherwise you forget.
I have a Google Excel to keep track of the comic books I'm reading, but I don't have it yet for.
But you know
movies.
that you can start a Goodreads account. It's
I
exactly.
do,
Like,
and then my friends find me, and then they find the dirty books that I'm reading, and I can't have people find
you
it
can do
anymore.
comic books on Goodreads?
yeah,
Oh,
my
nice.
Goodreads are like a lot of comic books.
That's great.
You can follow Gina on Goodreads. Do not find me on Goodreads.
Yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. Again, leave us at least one movie that didn't make our list that you think should have, or one that you were really thrilled to see.
Thanks for letting
Tell
us
us
come
whose
on
was
in
the most
middle.
unhinged.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, it was Abby's.
Bless her heart.
It was Abby's. Second place, Zach.
Fair. Subscribe to the Breakroom here on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch, follow us on all the social channels. We'll be back. Wednesday, we'll be live streaming for the final 3 episodes of Ironheart.
Right.
Eric and Jessica and Gina will be doing
Yeah.
that. We'll be chatting about that. And it's going to be a Q&A show. So as you watch these last 3 episodes that are coming out tomorrow night, there's going to be questions that are kind of going to come up for you about the future of these characters or why did this happen. Keep those in your brain and then type them out for our talented host to answer. Do all of that. Have yourself a great time, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for letting us on. Sorry that I ended up saying my will.
No, thrilled that you stayed.
It was funny.
Jessica
seeing
hurt
yours.
herself. She's like, I gotta go defend
I gotta go
myself.
defend myself. Abby said the same thing. Abby was like, we all gotta go defend ourselves.
Which there was actually very little roasting of anybody's picks, mostly because everybody at New Rockstars has really good taste. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
It's
yeah.
more an example of like, oh, another movie I wish I'd remembered.
Yeah.
I think it was like kind of revelatory to like get to know each other, and we get to see like, oh yeah, this does tell me something about you, and it's kind
Yeah.
of like nice to see that. Like it's
It reminds me, like, you know, I mean, there's a whole Seinfeld episode about this, but when you used to go to the video store and like you would see like Nick's
Staff
picks
picks,
and like
yes.
and then Elaine on the episode of Seinfeld is like, oh, Vincent's picks. It's another Vincent.
Turns out to be a teenage boy.
Exactly,
she falls in love
exactly.
with.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I feel like this is like new Rockstars picks. We should have a wall of all of our favorite movies. For
Oh
the
yeah,
year.
if we could own a Blockbuster and do that.
Yeah.
It's also like maybe if you've been on a dating app and you have to pick like 5 facts about yourself that you think tell the story of you, or old school MySpace with the, you know, all these kind of things. Like anytime we're asked to like kind of define ourselves through the medium of the things we enjoy,
Yeah, it's hard.
adds like a layer of challenge, but
Yeah.
it's also a fun self-expression, you know?
Can I say one funny thing? When I started on a dating app, my very first dating app, I put, I'm all about the 5 C's. Cats, comedy, comics, cartoons, and I put, and conspiracy theories. And then I got the worst people.
Oh, they all went after that one.
They went after that one. They went after that
should've
one.
expected it.
And
You
you know
should've
what?
expected
I
it.
should have expected it. I thought we were gonna be talking about Mothman, the Chupacabra. They said, "Did you know 9/11?" I said, "You know what? I'll take this out. I'll take it out." I said the
you're
4 C's
more-
after that.
You're like, cookies, anything else that starts with C.
You're more about the like old school
Yeah, just
unsolved
like the fun
mysteries,
one.
not QAnon.
Yeah, please. Anything that X-Files has touched, I will love. Not QAnon, dude. That's crazy. That's crazy. Those people were literally like, "Oh, let's talk about this." Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Pizzagate? Are we doing Pizzagate?
Oh, like, dude.
That's a great one. That's a great anecdote.
Don't do that for your dating profiles, unless you want those people coming into you.
It's true. Maybe we can find each other.
All right, thank you all so much. Bye, stream.